right. Good morning, Franklin. I see you. There you
How
go.
about now?
We got you. Can we get
Okay.
staff and
Ma'am,
please, would staff introduce yourself, please?
one more time. I didn't understand you.
The officer, would you introduce
Oh,
yourself?
my name is Deputy Dennis Parker. I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Parker, thanks for accommodating us today.
Yes, ma'am.
And with Mr. Chavez, we'd like to.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Chavez. Please introduce yourself. Tell us your name and your DOC number.
My name is Christopher Chavez, 535181.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chavez. We're here for a parole decision this morning. Let me acknowledge people joined us this morning by Zoom. We have your mother, Miss Cynthia Camp, your stepfather, Holland Niece, and friend James Spitz, all of who want to speak on your behalf. We also have a representative from the DA's office in Jefferson Parish who wants to speak, and we'll call on him at the appropriate time. Mr. Chavez, you're currently classified as a third felony offender, and you're currently serving a 4-year sentence. You were sentenced in Jefferson Parish in April 2021 as a habitual offender for simple burglary. Your parole eligibility date was October 6, 2021. You have a good time date later this year on December 27th. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right, good. Your case this morning has been assigned to Ms. Wise. Would you answer her questions?
Good
Yes,
morning.
Good morning, Miss
Morning.
Wise. Morning. How
How's
you
it
doing?
going? I'm
Okay.
doing good. Thanks
little
for
nervous.
asking. I know
Well,
it. I do.
I've been waiting on this for a while. I haven't had sleep. It seems like a month.
Okay, golly. Okay. Tell us how long you've been in jail on this charge.
On this charge, so about 28 months now. Plus,
Okay.
I have already served 4 months prior, so I got 32 months served on the 48-month sentence.
Okay. Because your good time day is, it's right around the corner, a little bit after Christmas.
Yes,
this
ma'am, it
year.
is. Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you today?
I am 40 years old.
You're age 40. Okay. And how long of your 40 years you think you spent in jail? Because you're a third offender, according to what I'm looking at.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going on about 13 years incarcerated total.
Okay. What's the reason for that? Would you say?
Well, for one, every single time I ever do something stupid and break the law, I get caught and go to jail. So, but for the most part, I've had a good, productive life, but I have went down the wrong road with drugs and bad company a few times. And that's the reason.
Okay. So what age you start using drugs?
Oh, probably about 13 years old.
What did you use?
Cocaine and marijuana.
And so that has continued up until you're age 40 now. It has been okay.
It has been on and off. Actually, I've been sober for about 18 months now, and it's probably the first time in my life I went that long sober. And it is by choice, by the way. It's not because I'm incarcerated, obviously.
Great. That's good to hear. It's really, really good to hear. So you've proven to yourself you can do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you make a believer out of yourself?
Absolutely.
And it looks like you have a trade, right? You're an electrician?
Yes, ma'am. For 25 years now.
25 years. That's commendable. We don't usually see somebody with those kind of skills, we just don't see.
That's one of many skills. I can actually build a house from the ground up as well as a vehicle. I actually spent most of my life working and doing the right thing. I was really raised like that. And on top of that, it's just natural instinct for me to do the right thing, go to work every day, come home, pay my bills, take care of my family. And just a few times I got off track, I just landed in jail. It's really terrible.
But I see you were working for this your current charge was a bar or something. You robbed your employer. You were working for them. What were you doing for them?
Well, I actually started out doing electrical work for them, and then I turned into bartending And then I turned into the manager / electrician.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. And your victim, I think your victim is unopposed, I think as long as you make restitution. I think your victim does want a restitution, but he is unopposed to
Okay.
your release. Just know that. Now let's talk about your write-up since you've been in jail. What's that all about?
Okay, so I've had 2 incidences. I don't know exact dates, but probably close to about 2 years ago. I had got caught with mojo. I ended up with about enough mojo to smoke 1 mojo joint, and I put it in my locker and didn't smoke it and got caught with it. So that was back in my drugging days. And then a few months after that, I was in a bad spot in jail where there was a lot of drugs and knives and stuff like that going on. And I went to a lieutenant and asked him to move me to another unit. And he wrote me up for that on a 30W. And then I also had a football ticket in my pocket, and he wrote me up for that gambling. For the record, I wasn't even playing football tickets at the time. Somebody gave me one, and it was stupid, but really didn't do anything the second incident. But the first time I was wrong. I had mojo, and I was wrong for that. But
So if you were successful today, how do you plan on staying clean and sober?
well, so not only have I showed that I can do it now, I actually have new motivation. So about 18 months ago, before I became sober, the mother of my children passed away. And my daughter, thank
Sorry
you.
to hear that.
My daughter at the time was 14 years old. And she recently had lost me to prison and lost her brother, which my son, he's in the military. Okay. So my little girl got on the phone with me and asked me, can I put her first for once? And I said, you know what? Absolutely. I would not be any type of a man if I didn't do exactly that. And I've been sober ever since. And my family knows that's all I talk about is being a dad. Right now, she is with her extremely older grandparents. One of them's got a severe case of dementia. She does have a roof over her head, and she's doing well. She's a straight A student. I love my little girl. She was nominated for Student of the Year this year.
Oh, wow.
But she needs me out there, and it's going to take me as far as getting established. My friend James offered me a place to live and a roof over my head, financially support. I already own a truck and all my tools he has at his house already.
All that's in the record, all that's in the record.
Okay.
So do you think you need any kind of, when I look back at your record, you are a third offender, you've been in and out of DOC. I don't see where you've ever taken any kind of substance abuse treatment. Do you need that? What do you think?
I think that I have done
Yes,
it on
yes,
my-
yes or no. Yes or yes or
Okay.
no. That's
No, ma'am. I don't think I need
okay.
it.
Okay. All right, that's all I had, Chairman. Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Mr. Rushing.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Chavez, tell me about the active warrant that you have for the city of Slidell, Louisiana.
Oh, so that was 15 years ago. I had a dispute with my girlfriend via text message, and she had me arrested for cyber stalking. But that was probably about 6 months ago, dismissed.
Okay, okay. I'll make it sure as of May 21, it was still active, but it's been dismissed.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. It's dismissed.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
Mr. Rushing. We'd like to hear from your family now. Could we first hear from your mother, Ms. Cynthia Camp?
You got to turn it off mute, Mom.
Nope, he stuck it back on mute.
There you
There
go.
you go. Got
Okay,
it. Go ahead, ma'am.
thank y'all for your time. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, really? Okay. Yes.
What would you like us to know?
Christopher is such an awesome person. And like I said, he does stupid things and he gets in trouble. But other than that, he does everything for everybody. He's such an upstanding person. He speaks highly. He's always in a good mood. And that's addictive. People need that. you know. He's done a lot in prison, and his last go around, he has been studying the Bible. And when I married their father, my mother-in-law was an evangelist preacher, a holiness evangelist preacher. And she told me, she said, I hope you love my son and you can follow him because he's going to be a preacher one day. I said, I'll follow him anywhere. Well, that didn't happen. But then Christopher Rudy said he might be the one who's been chosen to speak because people listen to him. And he knows that of God. He knows that God is real, you know. So I think that would really take him far. I had some strokes. I was a paramedic and I was going to be a flight medic. I had some strokes. I didn't know that my arteries were the size of neonate. So they fixed that, but with those strokes, I had paralysis. So with that, I had lost my home and lost my mobility, and finally healed from that by the grace of God. And Chris seen that, and so he knows there's a God. At one point, I smoked cigarettes for 32 years, and I quit just because I prayed to God, and I said, act like I had never smoked a day in my life. 32 packs of Cool Kings, 2 packs a day. And I stopped immediately because, and Chris seen that, he was like, Mom, this is real. I'm like, that's what your grandmother taught me, the power of prayer. And, you know, Chris needs to be there for his daughter. That blew all of our minds. Nobody ever expected her to just pass away. That she was brought to the hospital that night, intubated immediately, extubated the next morning. And man, there's like he said, the grandmother is going down quick. But Chris, he is such a compassionate young man. I love him. And I know I can hear it in his voice, how he talks about God. And he's very determined, you know, to be there for my granddaughter, and she needs him. They need him. The grandfather, he's now retired because he's older, and Christopher could help around the house while he's in Alabama. He might stay in Alabama. You know, the only reason why I'm not still in Alabama, I'm from New Orleans, I'm from Louisiana, but after I had my strokes and I lost my home when I was a paramedic, I was going to be a flight medic and all these wonderful things. And
Yes, ma'am. Can you wrap it up for us?
so, you know, we've got family in Alabama, and he needs to be there. And I truly, truly believe that my son is overall as senseless stuff. He's intelligent. He's got this wonderful gift of gab, and he got that from me. But he speaks and people listen to him. You know, he's always had.
Thank you,
Yes,
Mom.
ma'am. Thank you. Can we hear from Mr. Neese?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
I just want to say a couple of things. I've been with Cynthia for 15 years or more now. I've known Chris that long. Chris is a good soul. Chris is a good guy. He has a lot of skills that they can take him a long way. He is a good electrician. He is a good man. He's hard working. I've never seen anybody work so hard when he's working. I just haven't. He works hard. I've come to love Chris like a son. It breaks my heart to see the things that have happened to him. But I do believe with the situations that are here now, with his daughter's mom dying and the health of the grandmother on that side, that Chris can be a responsible person in society. I believe that with all my heart. He's just a good man. Kind of brings me to tears, can't help it. I love him like a son, and I know with this opportunity that he could come out and make something special out of himself. I hope he has the opportunity. And that's really all I can say.
So thank you so much. We appreciate your input. Mr. Spitz. Yeah. Go ahead, sir. You have to unmute the microphone.
Unmute the microphone, Jim. It's on you, buddy.
Chris, you need to let us direct the hearing.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. Well, I'm a friend of Chris's and his family's. I've known Chris for quite a few years now. I'm a nurse by profession. Have been for about 27 years now. What can I say? Chris is a good friend. He's a personable person. He's a caring person. Doesn't always make the right decisions. But in order to help him out of this situation, I can offer financial assistance to him, a roof over his head, and help him get along until he gets his life back in order. Yeah, he has made some bad decisions, and we've talked about that. And he seems to be sincere and wanting to correct that. So hopefully that is the truth, and hopefully that's what he will work towards in his days coming. And that's about it.
Yes, sir. And we do have the letter you sent us in the record. Thank you so much. Mr. Meyer from the DA's office.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA in Jefferson Parish. I wasn't 100% sure how I was gonna, what I was gonna say with regard to Mr. Chavez, but I do know now what I'm gonna say. I had a note that I thought he needed substance abuse treatment. I think it's clear that he, without question, needs it now. His response to the question if he needs some substance abuse was no. In 2002, his first arrest was DUI. He's had a number of arrests since then. He's now incarcerated on a third offense DWI, which occurred in 2021. He's admitted to drugs use throughout his life. He is not admitted, didn't say anything about doing alcohol, drinking alcohol to excess. I think he doesn't understand how addiction affects people and how it plays into what you do in your life. And I think he needs to learn that, or he's gonna be right back here with us again in jail. And, hopefully there won't be an issue that occurs where someone is injured because of his driving while intoxicated or on other drugs. He has a moderate risk assessment. His addiction was so bad that in 21, he had a write-up for Mojo. Although he contends that he didn't smoke any of it, he was getting it to use. I think it's extremely important that he has some long-term substance abuse treatment before he is released from jail. I also think that it's highly and very important that he be ordered to wear a scram bracelet when he is released to assure that he doesn't use alcohol again and hurt somebody, because this has been going on for over 20 years. Finally, I think, as his victim said, he is not opposed to parole for Mr. Chavez if he pays the restitution. He also stated if he doesn't pay the restitution, he needs to be revoked. And I think that also should be part of his eventual release when he's released on, hopefully on good time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Mr. Chavez, let me ask Deputy Parker, are you familiar with Mr. Chavez? Is there anything you want to add?
Ma'am, actually, he stepped out of the room.
Okay, all right, that's good. Anything you want to say to us before we vote?
I just want to say, I do have an extensive drug and alcohol problem. That's why I kind of hesitated on the question. I probably could have used treatment in the past, but I have, with my new motivation with my daughter, I have forced myself to overcome that on my own. I am a new person. and I'm ready to go out there and be a father to my daughter and do the right thing. Just please give me that opportunity. I will not let you down.
All right, we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Wise.
All right, Mrs. Chavez, you know, I had that in my notes and I forgot to mention that, that you're in 1982, you did get a DWI and you were 20 years of age. And you've just been dealing with this for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
This morning, we had a case of a young man who was making $14,000 a year. $14,000 a year. That's what he was collecting. I'm sorry, a month, $14,000 a month. And he's
Wow.
in jail because of drugs.
Okay.
He had he had car, he had all of that, whatever $14,000 a month to do. And it's unfortunate that your stance is you don't need treatment. I really, really hope that you could get to the point where you see that you need some tools in your toolbox in order to really be there for you. The worst thing you can do is get out and tell your daughter, I'm gonna be clean and sober, and life start happening. And because life is gonna start happening. People gonna die, you're gonna lose jobs, people ain't gonna pay you when they're supposed to pay you. You know, things are just gonna happen. And it's just gonna happen. And you don't have any skills to deal with it. But for me, mainly because you refuse treatment, my vote is to deny. Your poor supervision history, you need substance abuse treatment. Again, a moderate tiger, high needs, and those write-ups that was already mentioned, and law enforcement opposition. And you need parenting classes. That is my vote, sir.
Mr. Roshan.
Madam Chairman, my vote is the same, for the same reasons.
All right, Mr. Chavez, I do agree wholeheartedly. You need some treatment prior to release. My vote today is to deny your parole. Your parole's been denied. Mr. Parker, thanks for accommodating us this morning. We're going to move on. It's
Yes.
11:43.
Yeah, this case was as clear as day that man.
Yes.
I agree with Mr. Randallmeyer wholeheartedly. It's in some of these cases you see them and you're like, but in this it was just as clear as day. That man was trying to say all the right things, and from my opinion, it was so clear from the beginning. It was just like, if Mr. Marabella was the one asking the questions, wow, it would have gone deep. He would have pinned it out of him of what kind of addict he is. But Miss Wise is a little bit more nonchalant with her interviewing, and it even then it still wasn't necessary. He's lucky. He got arrested as an habitual offender and only got a 4-year sentence. If he had been arrested 10 years earlier, he could have gotten life with the habitual offender thing. But due to reform, which I think is a good rule, I don't think anyone should get life sentence because they get, they need help. They need help. I don't know why they didn't send him to a Steve Hoyle program. Maybe it was because he said he didn't think he needed. No, they send people who say that too. I think it's just he's going to have his good time date, which is, it's so interesting. We see so many cases where people are serving so much time, and in this case, he has a good time date in like a year, something like that, and it's like, okay, you'll be home soon, regardless. And you might argue just keeping him locked up, it's not really doing anyone any favors because he needs help when he gets out. They need to put him in and set certain requirements. Maybe they can set those requirements in a good time date because he'll be out on parole. The case that Miss Wise was talking about, where he makes $14,000 a month. Yeah, we did that one too. I'll put it up here so you can watch it after if you're interested. And yeah, the man really he spent $1,000 a month. He claimed or his PO claimed on just shrimp and lobsters, and it was just to show that he had everything going for him and he just couldn't control his addiction. This man, he was an electrician. Then he became a bartender and then a manager. And then he stole from that bar. And it's like, there are people that are just gifted with their hands. I think maybe everyone has a friend that they're just amazed by. They can basically pick anything up and fix it. And sometimes those people take full advantage of it and make a great living, and sometimes they just kind of waste it. I mean, if you're an electrician, why are you going to be a bartender? And it's just showing where his mind's at, really. And then he stole from them. The third person who spoke, he seemed to be a little bit more real with what's going on. James Spitz. He's like, I'll help him. I'll be supportive to him, and hopefully he'll get on the right track. He seemed a little bit more eyes wide open to what the reality of the situation was. And frankly, if he'd gotten let out, he'd be right back in there. And his record, it's like, well, do you have we see that you have a retainer from, what was it, Alabama? He's like, oh, no, I got in a little dispute with my girlfriend and she got me arrested for cyber stalking. I'm like, ouch. You can only imagine. To get arrested for cyber stalking, that it got, you don't just get arrested for cyber stalking. She didn't get you arrested for cyber stalking. You were doing things that got you arrested for cyber stalking. And he spent, what was it? Was it 14 years of his life in prison? He's 50 years old. I mean, that's basically half your adult life. And he was kind of like he started off with, which was really, it's just all denial. He started off with, whenever I do something wrong, I get caught. Which she's like basically saying, I don't do things wrong. I'm just really unlucky because I do something wrong and then I'm caught for it. And it's like, you're not even admitting to yourself. I feel that if you wanted to show someone in some type of course or like study or master's degree program, doctorate program, you want to show someone in denial of addiction, I would show this. I also didn't feel good. He said, my little girl called me on the phone and said, can you put me first for once? And that's heartbreaking. And his poor daughter, her mother died and her father's in prison. And then him to say, she needs me. I just didn't feel good about it. I could be wrong. Someone can choose to look at this with an open heart and say he means it and give him the credit and he wants to be there for her. And maybe a part of him really does, but another part of me felt that he was just saying it to manipulate the board. And if that's true, it's just like sick. Again, that's being negatively judgmental. But looking at him through, I guess, a without trusting him perspective, that's just what my takeaway from it. And he needs help. He needs a lot of help, but he's going to be right back in there. And so I'll put the case of the gentleman who was earning 14 grand a month and wouldn't pay the money he needed to get the drug test to not have a parole revocation. And it's quite an interesting one as well. Maybe another example about being in denial about addiction. And with that, I'll let you go. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help. Thank you.